Well, hey everybody, it's Jim, and I'm glad to have you here with me today, episode 4 of Kitbashing. Now, before we get too far, I know that we had our cool project that we built yesterday, and if you didn't see this in the previous video, it's a pneumatic-controlled crane. Alright, that's really cool, but like everything around us, we have to change something. We need some of these parts for today's build, and so today we're going to have to take this apart, which, you know, this is actually okay. This is a lot like life. I mean, things change constantly. Right now, in the news, things are changing. Every day it seems like they release new announcements and new things, and it can be confusing, and even I find myself sometimes saying, I don't know what's going on. And so I have to rely on people who are smarter than me and people who know more than I do to figure it out for me. And so if you found yourself confused lately or wondering what's going on, talk to people, ask them. It's okay to ask these questions. It's okay to get these answers. And as we continue to take this apart, I wanted to show you something from yesterday. So yesterday we used an air-powered pneumatic valve. This was something that I made before that show, and I never showed it to you, but this is something that we might look at later on in the series. This is hydraulics. So if you look really closely, and let's go to my other camera so you can see up close. If you look up closely, you'll see that there's a fluid in here. This is water, and actually, I'm trying to make it so it will bubble a little bit, and then you can really see it. But there's water in there, and there's a difference from using this setup with water than using it with air. And I think you should experiment with that maybe over this weekend so that when we get back Monday, we can do more stuff. Now, I'm going to keep taking my kit apart for a minute here. While I do that, I wanted to show you the list of supplies that you're going to need for today's build. Today, we're going to need 3 of these brackets. This is one of the reasons we need to take apart our lever. We're going to need one of those. We're also going to need 3 of the long screws, which are also in our build. And if you don't have the right screws, you can use the short screws. I just use those because they're easier. You're going to need 3 of the nuts that go with the screws. You're going to need 2 arrows. You're going to need tape on your handy-dandy tape dispensing pen, a large clothespin, the 1x5 bracket, some rubber bands, a couple paper clips, and a couple index cards. If you get all of those things, you'll be ready to build. So thank you so much for tuning in today. My name is Jim. I'm your host, and you are watching Kitbashing. Well, welcome back. As we continue to take this apart, I'm going to get a few of the pieces I need. Again, we're going to need the long bolts that we have on our build, and you may have used those in your bracket. And then we're also going to need the L bracket. Today we're building something really cool. I call it the Bandinator. It is going to be a rubber band launcher. Now, I'll tell you in advance, don't use this to like beat up your siblings or your cat or your family or your children. For those of you adults, this should not be used for torturing children. But this is great for target practice, for just having fun, trying to set yourself up with challenges. Whether can I hit this? Can I shoot a target? And so we're gonna get our kit taken apart from yesterday because we do need pieces from it. And that's okay. Like I said earlier, everything is changing. And just like how everything is changing in the real world, things are changing here. And also just like the real world, things are going to be fine. Like seriously, that's one thing that we can know for sure. Everything in the end will work out. Now I'm going to take all of these nuts and screws and we're going to take those off. All right. And if you are with us live, I know we're recording these, so you'll find them on our YouTube channel, and you'll also find them on our website, which is right here for you, madenewOmaha.com facebook.com/kitbashing. And then you can also find them on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/made-new-Omaha. So you can look these videos up later, but if you're with us today, Thursday, and you're with us live, then you can go ahead and ask questions. I've got the chat windows open for both of our Facebook and YouTube channels, and I'll do my best to answer them. I've got my brackets. I need one of these brackets. There we go. And so looking down from the top down, you can see now we've got everything. Let's make sure that we've got everything. We've got our 3 brackets. We've got, actually I had 4 screws because I had extras. 3 nuts, 2 arrows, our tape, the large clothespin, the 1x5 bracket, the rubber bands, paper clips, and the index cards. And if you have more stuff than that out, you can just throw it in the box for right now. You might not need it. Maybe we'll set up some more targets at the end. I don't know. But one thing that I said a couple episodes back, and I'll say again, is that it's really important to be organized and to keep these things so you can find them. So maybe this weekend it would be a good idea for you to go through your box, sort things out, organize it, and I have a challenge for you for this weekend. Now, here's my challenge, is I want you to go to your box. I want you to pull stuff out of your kit, and then I want you to create something. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be something very small. If you remember the intro from, I want to say, Tuesday, we had I had a little car that I was riding Pikachu on. Make something. And then I want you to send a picture of whatever it is you created to me. I love getting those pictures, and actually today I got one from yesterday's build that I wanted to share with you guys. This is one of our Facebook followers who sent this picture of their son's version of our build, and this looks like it absolutely turned out great. You can see the weights in the cup, and it looks like everything was working exactly right. I love seeing those pictures. If you share them with me, I will share them here for others to see as well. And so please do that. Create something new. And if I see it and I go, oh my gosh, I really like this, that could even be something that we use on another episode. Maybe we'll teach other people how to build your creation. Okay, so I'm looking at my table here. I'm looking at all the parts that we have. We're going to start assembling our shooter today. I'm going to go up here, and we're going to see what... Okay, I'm going to move some things aside. I'm going to move this aside. We're not going to need the paper clips or this yet, our index cards. So I'm just going to slide those out of the way. Get those out of here. The tape. We're going to need a little bit of tape, but we're going to need that later. The big things that we're going to want right now, and the arrows we're going to come to pretty soon, are our 3 brackets. 1, 2, 3. And our bolts. Now here's where we're going to put these. We're going to put one in the handle right here. And then we're going to flip it over. And remember that technique I said before, where if you put your finger on it and then you flip it over, you can hold everything in place, and then you can screw it down nice and tight. You'll never need to use a wrench for any of our projects. You should be able to finger tighten these and get them tight enough. Now here's the technique I want you to use. Is I want you to lay this flat on a surface. Okay, so now I've got it laid flat on this surface, and then what we're going to do with that flat, that lines everything up really nice. I'm going to use my thumb to hold the screw on this side while I come around on the other side, and we're going to tighten that nice and tight. And so again, finger tight's fine. You don't need to use a wrench. And so that will hold that in place. We're going to do the same thing all the way at the other end. So go through this last hole, hold it with my finger, put this on, just like that. Okay, very cool. So this is what you should have at this point. Now, it kind of looks like a rubber band shooter already. I mean, you could hold this. There's this curved end. You could put a rubber band on. It looks like it could be somewhat functional. So this is the starting point. the next step that we're going to need to follow to build our cool Bandinator version 1.0, and I say 1.0 because we might modify this and it might make a repeat performance at some point. But we need some tape, and I'm going to pull off, I'd say about 4 inches of tape or so. And the way to tell that it's 4 inches, like if you're, all fancy like me and you've got a surface that has the inches, I can just hold this down and go 1, 2, 3, 4. If you don't have that, you've got something else. And oh my goodness, would you look at this? I did not take the last screw off of my ruler. If you remember, we've included a ruler in our kits. Now, I will say once again, if you don't have a kit, that's okay. You can assemble all these parts from home. We have the list on our website, which is madeinomaha.com/kitbashing. But if you look, we have this ruler and we have measurements. So if you measure out about 4 inches on this ruler, you'll know exactly how long it needs to be. Now, 4 inches is kind of, a ballpark. If it's 5 inches of tape, it's not going to matter. If it's 3.5 inches, it's probably going to be okay. But we need about 4 inches. Now, this is the next part, and this is a little bit harder. We need to tear this tape down the middle. We've talked before about how gaff tape is really cool because you can tear it with your hands and it usually stays pretty straight. Now, to tear it the long way, you can still tear it with your hands, but there's a little bit of a technique. Now, I'm going to stick it to my finger just like that, and I'm going to stick one part to my thumb. And so you can see I'm holding it straight like that. That's really, really handy, except here's the problem, is now it's kind of hard to tear this. So I can't just hold 2 fingers and keep it separated. So instead, I'm going to pinch it at the top with both hands, and then very carefully, I twist one hand towards me while I twist the other one away. And that tears it like so. And then, just like that, you pull it, and we have 2 roughly half-inch wide, we're kind of guesstimating, 4-inch long pieces of tape. That's all we need. So, we have our 2 4-inch pieces of tape, and now I'm going to take this, and we're going to take our rubber band, we're going to take our rubber band shooter. No, we're going to take our lovely clothespin, and look at the holes with me for a second. See how there's 1, 2, 3 holes? We want this spring right here to line up with the 3rd hole. So that's really cool. Now I want to show you the reason that we used 3 of these. See the thickness of our clothespin and the thickness of 3 of these L brackets? It's almost exactly the same. Very cool. So now I'm using one hand, which has a piece of tape on it, to pinch my clothespin to this. Now I'm going to cover, and I don't want to cover up the holes. I just want to go between the holes here. So I'm going to, on the back side of my clothespin, I'm going to use my tape, and I'm going to tape it down just like so. All right. And at the bottom, if you want to make sure this is super well sealed, at the bottom, if you just take these 2 pieces of tape and then you pinch them together, it's going to be very, very hard for this tape ever to come off again. And actually, for the sake of making it pretty, I'm just going to wrap it around like that. You don't have to do that. That's just for fun. All right, so this is down, and this is pretty strong on its own, but this has a lot of movement back and forth, and we don't want that movement. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our second piece of tape, and I'm going to take it off my finger here, and I'm going to push back on the clip, and I'm going to bring it in, and I want you to notice where I brought this in. See how it's past that little hole here? We need this little indentation because that's what holds your rubber band. And then we're going to pull it down really tight and push it down to tape it in place. Again, at the bottom, You can tape these pieces together however you would like. Doesn't need to be pretty. There you go. All right, so now we've attached our rubber band launcher to our actual device. Now, this would work right now just as it is. I could take one of these rubber bands, load it up, and it'll hold it, and I could even fire it. It works. Cool. But that is a little bit boring. I mean, let's be real. It looks kind of simple. Let's make a trigger down here. Okay? So to launch our rubber bands, because this is a rubber band launcher. Don't call it the G word. Parents don't like those. I don't like my kids with those. This is a launcher. All right, so to finish our launcher off, here's what we're going to do next. We need to take our 1x5 piece, and we need to take our 2 pieces that are arrow shaped. And what we're going to do, this second hole. So now we start up here from where we've connected. 1, 2. We have 2 holes. We need to make a trigger. And I think I'm going to make my trigger. Let's see. Let's just line stuff up. Yeah, I think I'm going to make the trigger by putting it in the middle hole of my 1x5 piece. So, middle hole of my 1x5 piece should be lined up with the second hole. That's the hole right at the back of the paper clip. Okay, so we've got that lined up. Now, just like the other ones, I'm going to put the screw in on one side, and I'm going to hold it with my finger. Grab one of our handy-dandy nuts here. I swore I'd never used the word handy-dandy, and here I am using the word handy-dandy. It's a shame, I tell you, a shame. All right, there we go. We'll do the picture-in-picture. So now, if you look at this, we have a sort of functioning trigger. It goes back and forth, and it will hold in place. And it doesn't need to be super tight. If you tighten this too hard, it won't want to move. But the trigger isn't attached to anything. That's pretty useless. You know, if I put a rubber band in here, I can't even load it with the trigger. All right, so now I got my rubber band loaded up. If I pull the trigger, nothing happens. Okay, that doesn't do me any good at all. So we need to finish getting this trigger put together. Here's how we're going to do that. Take the arrow, and now I'm going to have you do something. So remember how we put 1, 2 bolts in at the very beginning on our build. We actually don't need this bolt anymore because this guy is going to hold it together as well as the tape. So we're going to take out this back screw. There. And see, the gun holds itself together. Not a gun, shooter, launcher, whatever we want to call it. Not the G word. Holds itself together even with this taken out. And now we've got this pivot arm right here that's going to act as our trigger. Take your 2 arrows. And here's what we're going to do next. We're going to attach our 2 arrows to the very top of our bolt. And we're going to put this through right here. Okay. Just like so. So if you look at this from the top down shot, you'll see that my arrows are attached and kind of almost pointing forward. That's exactly how we want it. I'm going to move my trigger so that it's almost up and down, but not quite. Probably a few degrees off of that. Okay, so this is where I want that. I'm going to hold this there with my finger and flip it over. And then we're going to put the screw on, or the nut on the screw. Now this one, again, everything we do is usually okay to be finger tight. But this one right here, you really want to make sure it's super, super tight as you can get it so that it doesn't move. Okay, so now this looks about, let's see, turn that. That looks about right. Okay. Now I want to show you one more quick change that we're going to make on this, because now if you look at this, we have the arrow points down, and what this arrow is doing is it's actually acting as a little actuator on our rubber band, right? And that's what we want. But to make it work the best that we can, we need to fix this arrow in place so that it really, really doesn't move. And for that, we're going to need a little bit more tape. So pull off your tape, and if you want to measure, you can, but you don't have to. 2 inches. If you go not quite as long as your finger, that's roughly 2 inches. So if you make sure, so here's my finger, I'm going to take my tape, and it won't be quite as long as my finger. So I'm going to lay it out there so you can see. And it's about 2 inches, maybe to the second knuckle. Tear that off. Don't need that anymore for yet. So now we have our piece of tape. We are going to take our arrow and we're just going to tape this down. Let me show you on this camera. So I'm holding my trigger where I want it. I've got my arrow pointed this way. I'm going to put a piece of tape around the arrow, attaching it there to there. Okay, perfect. There we go. So now that arrow is going to be held stationary because we have the tape attached to our arm and also attached to our arrow. So it should hold it stationary, but then when I go to push against the trigger, it should still open this up. And if I got it quite about, I just got to get it right in the right spot. There we go. Okay. Hang on. There we are. You'll know you've got it in the right spot. There we are. When it's tight enough that it will hold. And if you need a little extra tape, that's okay. I think I'm going to need a little extra tape. So I'm going to take some and I'm going to go around the back side. Now if you're careful, you can reuse gaff tape. There. All right, so that holds it in place. There we go. If it gets stuck, mine was getting stuck, and the reason was that my clothespin, if you look, see how my top piece got out of line there? Just push that back. It's totally fine. All right, so now my arrow works, and I've got a working trigger. Very cool. So I've got this cool shooter with a working trigger that when I pull it, it will take our little arrow actuator and push down on the release. Now we need to make sure it works. I'm going to take a rubber band, put it in here, pull it down. Okay. So if this works, I'm gonna aim it. Here we go. We're gonna aim it at the box here and see if it just a quick test. Yes. All right. Victory! We did it. All right, we built something that works. Everything we've built works, right? It's okay if stuff doesn't work because that's called iterative design. That's a word that's so complex, I'm having trouble saying it. Iterative design. You create something and then it doesn't work, so you figure out why it doesn't work and then you recreate it. And in fact, with this particular shooter, before the show, I redesigned this about 3 times. I built it once and I didn't quite like it, and then I built it twice and I got it closer, and then I realized that I was trying to do it with only 2 of these L brackets, and adding that 3rd bracket really made it nice. And so I changed it up, and now it works much, much better. I would probably make a couple other slight design changes in the future. Maybe I would wrap the arrows differently or come up with a better system to actuate the trigger. But we have a working, functioning rubber band shooter now. The next step is that we need to create some targets because honestly, if we have something that can shoot rubber bands, we should have something to shoot them with. So now what I have is one of my index cards and one of my paper clips. And we are going to make a super easy target. So here's our paper clip. All that we're going to do is hold down this end of the paperclip. Now, if you look at this paperclip, you'll see that right here at the edge, there's a spot where it doesn't overlap. It's just this little loop. We're going to hold that loop, and then I'm going to bend the paperclip. So see what I did? I bent that paperclip so that it's flat, and I'm going to bend it just a little bit more so it's hanging over that part just a little. So see what we did there? That's here. This will stand out a little bit more clearly. So it should stand up on its own, and if it doesn't, you can adjust it a little bit. You can bend this backwards even more, but it should stand up on its own. Now, once you've got it to that point, we're going to add our target. Take your plain old index card, and then what we're going to do is we're going to slide that into our paperclip. I'll show you how on this camera. All right, so slide that just like you'd put something normally in a paperclip, and you might need to adjust it again a little bit so that it stands up. Like now mine is leaning way too far back. There we go. You might have to adjust it a little bit, but here's the cool thing is that makes a target that's standing up just like this, but it's also like super easy to knock down. So you'll know if you hit it, because if you hit it, it's going to turn or twist or fall down. So now, target practice. I'm going to set this way out here, and I actually set our other camera up at the edge so we can see exactly where my target is. And I've got my super shooter here. We're going to line this up. Now we're going to load it. And to load it, what I do is I pull the trigger, stick in the rubber band like this. So I got my rubber band. And then don't go all the way on the bottom of this. See how there's that little lip there? Don't go there. Instead, just put it on the middle. All right. So we've got that on the middle. It looks ready to go. Next step, we need to take aim and practice here. All right, 3, 2, 1. Yes! I got it. So it works. We've got a working super rubber band launcher that you can actually even aim. Very cool, fun little project today. This project is something new from what we had made yesterday with a few parts that we added in. Tomorrow, I want you guys to join me for a very special Friday edition of Kitbashing. We call it Freeform Friday, and I am going to come in here and we're just going to build something, and it's not necessarily going to be from the kit. Maybe it's going to use some kit components, but it's not necessarily from the kit. I call it freeform. It's Free Build Friday. I can't read my own notes sometimes. But Free Build Friday is tomorrow, and right here on Kitbashing. Again, we're going to take things from time to time that will require taking apart one of our projects and doing something new with it. That's what we're all about, and that's really what this time that we're going through is all about. We are all about taking advantage of what we have in front of us, the resources we have in front of us, and making something better out of it. So I want you guys to think about that today, for the rest of your day, tomorrow, as you watch our Free Build Friday, and as we continue to make new things here every day on the show. I want you to think about how you can take what's in your environment right now and make it better. There's a lot of people, kids and adults, who maybe they're concerned about what's going on right now. It's not the end of the world. We're going to be okay. Find those things that can make the world a better place, and I want you to go and make something new with them. Show me what you built. I want to see your pictures. Show me new creations. I love seeing those. If we have those, we'll put them on the show. I love doing that. If you've got a project that you think that we could build, send it to me. My email is kitbashing@madenewOmaha.com. Again, if you want to get a free copy of everything that we have that in this kit. And if you want to make your own kit, or if you want to just order a kit, we have a few sets left. We haven't completely sold out, but once this set of kits is gone, I honestly don't know if we're going to make any more, because it's getting super hard to find the stuff with all the shipping and stuff being closed down. But if you want to get a copy of the kit, or if you want to get the free list to build your own, you can go to madenewOmaha.com/kitbashing. And then, as I said before, we are on Facebook. If you go to facebook.com/madenewOmaha, you can get hold of us. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear from families that are working together on these kits and to get your feedback. We're trying to make this thing the best we can. And I know this is week 1 and there's going to be a few kinks to work out of the system until it's all perfect. But until we get that formula worked out, I am really excited to hear input from other people and see how we can make this even better. Until next time, my name is Jim, and I'll catch you later.